Well, good morning, everyone. I'd like to convene the meeting of the Sandpoint Tree Committee. Here it's July 19th, 2021, 8:30 or 8:40 in the morning here. We're in the City Council chambers in Sandpoint. Let's see. First order of business is to do a roll call for the membership here. My name is Bob Wilson. I'm the chair of the committee. We have present Gail Lister, Bill Love, Sharon Lewis, our committee members, and Kim Woodruff as Parks Department head. And we have a couple of guests here, which we'll introduce, I guess, when we get to that. We do have, let's see. So a couple of announcements. We do have a new city parks planner, Maeve Nevins, okay, Lautar. And Kim, do you want to introduce her, or how do we do this?
I'll kick it over to Jennifer.
Okay,
Jennifer?
thanks, Kim.
Okay, Jennifer.
So we have Maeve with us here today, and we're glad that it worked out timing wise with tree committee being today and Maeve being here in town. So Maeve is new, is just joining our team effective today. And we have interesting transitions right now with new hires at the city who are coming from out of the area. Maeve's one of them. She'll be relocating here from Anchorage. And with our current housing market and situations, we actually have 3 staff with the city that are starting with us and are here on site, and we're kicking them off. And then they're back to where they're currently living, working with us electronically, and then transitioning with us permanently as they find permanent housing and get moved going into the fall. So Maeve is one of those, and we have kind of some moving parts happening on the parks and recreation side. So Kim is staying in his position, our leader of our parks, recreation, and open space area. And Maeve is joining our team as really a new team member and support system to what Kim's doing. This is new for us here at the city with having a parks planning and development manager. Her job is to basically do the planning and the design and oversee the construction for all of the assets that Kim operates and manages and runs through parks and recreation. So she's kind of that partner for him on that side. We have had this position open for almost a year, looking for the right person. I say we were looking for Maeve because she is the right person, and you are all going to love working with her. But not only has Maeve been in exactly the position we're hiring for, so she can help us with this transition since it's new to us. But Maeve has a unique skill set in that she's a landscape architect and also has a strong background and significant experience in construction management and permitting. And she is she's highly involved in recreation herself, both she and her husband. So we're probably going to be looking at transition with tree committee, and we've been trying to find, where is our perfect fit, and Kim's done a great job in transitioning and interim, but most likely tree committee, probably in coordination with your group, will move over to Maeve, because our landscape architect experience is going to be a huge benefit to this group. And Kim, we can get him back to a lot of his responsibilities that he has, and you may see him involved too. So the two are working in parallel. And as we've been trying to get transitions going simultaneously, we're trying to get obviously our planning for what our urban forestry program looks like and improvements. And Kim's going to continue to stay involved in all of that too, but Maeve will be coming in as a team player as well. So you can expect for at least the next several months, you have a team of 2 from the city with 2 different great perspectives, and Kim certainly with his knowledge and experience here locally, but Maeve bringing kind of a new element to the team too for us in this regard. And I'll hand it over to Maeve a little bit to give you a little bit of her background and experience working with issues like tree committee has.
Yes, well, first of all, thank you all so much. Just as much as Jennifer said that I was the right fit for her team, I feel like you're the right community and the right home for me and my husband. My husband actually is the director of the outdoor recreation program for a military base in Anchorage. And so we are literally day one of transitioning. I just arrived and I'm getting my feet wet. And so far, I was saying when I drove across the bridge, all of my woes went away and I felt like I had been home. I arrived.
We call that the Long Ridge moment.
It was unbelievable. Yeah, I cried. So yes, my background, I'm actually originally from Vermont. I was born and raised in Vermont and New Hampshire. And then I went to school there. I am a purebred ski racer and mountain biker and all of those fun things. But my love for trees and for the forest and for the outdoors, and particularly the land, started with those roots. And then I went on to college and competed on the national extreme ski, we called it extreme skiing, back in the 90s, free skiing circuit as a skier in Colorado. And so I lived there for over 20 years and moved to Anchorage, Alaska in 2012 at the end of the recession. And so I've been this whole time building my career from the Parks and Recreation, from the foundation up. I literally started my career as a teenager working in Parks and Recreation, doing landscaping. And then to sustain my ski career, I worked in construction and I built roads. I've been an operator. I was on a pipe crew. I ultimately went back to landscaping and went back to plants really, because I really believe that you could develop in a different way. And that led me to landscape architecture. And so I dropped in and out of college a few times because of my ski career, and also I was paying my own way. And I ended up going back at 24 to study landscape architecture at Colorado State University. The whole time that I was there, I had my own business as a gardener, landscaper. So I've always just bounced back and forth in the two worlds. And then I went on to work in Boulder, and I worked for a private engineering firm there doing business development and landscape design. And then now I've been in Anchorage. So since I've been in Anchorage, I've been the senior landscape architect, senior park planner for the municipality. And I've developed over 50 projects that I've put in the ground in the last 9 years, and $30 million has been invested. My roles have been everything from just taking someone's small little idea, such as a swing set, or maybe they're planting a tree, getting that implemented all the way to realizing an entire trail system or an entire park renovation, or I mean, it could be as big as a community development. So I have a lot of different hats that I wear, and I'm just so honored to be all here with all of you. And I do want to tell you that I'm going to just be a sponge right now because this is all so new and exciting. Thank you.
Yay.
So exciting for us.
Welcome.
Yay. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
So for May's benefit, how about we just go around real quickly and just share a little bit about your history, how long you've been here, and what your background in trees and tree committee. Start with Bill.
I'm Bill Love, and I'm a forester. I worked with the Idaho Department of Lands and became active and involved with urban forestry at a statewide level. And after retiring from the Department of Lands, I work part-time for Inland Forest Management, which is a consulting forestry firm here in Sandpoint. And kind of as a partial disclosure, Inland Forest Management also contracts in managing the city of Sandpoint watershed, the Little Sand Creek watershed. Mike Walcott, the president of IFM, is the forester that administers that contract. But I lived in Sandpoint for almost 50 years, and my wife was born and raised in Sandpoint, was a teacher here, and so I feel that I have pretty deep roots in the Sandpoint area here. So I'll be the historian on the committee for you.
Wonderful to meet you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
Yeah.
quite
Yeah,
all right.
no, no, no.
I'm
I
the
thought
city
maybe you had
clerk.
already
I'm just here
met.
taking minutes. Yeah, very nice to meet you.
No,
She's
We'll work.
not just the city
I
clerk.
know.
No, please go ahead, Sharon.
Have you already met? Or-
No,
we have not
no,
met.
no.
Very nice to
Okay,
meet
but
You just flew in. Was the last, did you spend the night here last
I
night?
just got here.
Okay, okay.
We'll talk a lot more
Okay,
later. No
okay.
problem.
I'm Sharon Lewis. I've been in the community for about 20 years now and on the tree committee for, I think, over 10 years. That's hard to calculate. I've never considered myself a real expert on trees. I represent kind of the lay person in the community that's not necessarily an expert in urban forestry, but I have a deep appreciation of the value of urban forestry, and that's what I like to represent in this committee. And yeah, as far as just personally, I have spent time working with the Forest Service. I've spent time working with the Antarctic program and lived in Denver when I was doing that. And yeah, so it is kind of interesting. I think about Antarctica where there's a treeless continent, but and maybe that's one of the reasons why I do see the value in the trees and urban forestry. So,
And she's a clear voice for us too.
Oh, wonderful to meet you.
yeah, nice to meet you. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
And Sharon's the vice chair of our committee as well.
Are you, Bob?
Well, I'm Bob Wilson. I'm currently maybe permanently chair of this committee.
Second the emotion.
That
All
wasn't a
in
motion.
favor?
There's always room for change, but yeah, I've been I have a horticultural background. I have a bachelor's in horticulture from Oregon State, and then a master's in entomology. My wife and I have been living here in Idaho since 2000, and my wife was a forest entomologist, actually. So, but currently we are running a little native plant nursery down in Athol,
Oh,
south of here, and it keeps us busy most of the time. Let's see. Regarding the city trees, that one thing I've been doing for a number of years is maintaining the street tree inventory, which is now a computerized system. It's all GIS mapped, and all the trees in town, and I think most of the parks, if not all of the parks, have been mapped now. Although someone else is doing the park mapping, so that's kind of my involvement. But and I guess I should mention recreationally, I've been a ski jorer for about 25 years now. So since you're from Anchorage, you know what that is.
I do. I absolutely do.
Didn't mention the dogs too. Bob.
Yeah,
yes.
well, yeah, we have a sled dog kennel. My wife runs a sled dog.
Oh, no
kennel,
kidding.
so-
I actually live in a park that is it's ski jarring and dog mushing trails, 1,700 acre. It's the Chudiak Mushers Club.
Oh, in
North of Anchorage.
north of Anchorage. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm saying goodbye to them all. I will miss their barking.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You can come by and visit our kennel anytime.
I'd love to.
And see
Oh, very
the
fun.
kids.
Oh,
I guess that's all I have.
oh, that's so
for now.
exciting.
And I am Gail Lester, and I've been with this group for we heard maybe 15 years, we were told. Anyway, I love this group. I love what we're able to do and what our hopes are for the future. I'm an artist, and I have no academic background except that I'm a lover of trees and of our earth, and that's about me. That's it.
Beautiful, wonderful.
She's the heart.
Oh, oh, it is so wonderful to me.
Yeah, we have the green aspects covered on the committee because a person not here today is a certified arborist, and between Bob
Rich,
and several of our others experience in the green industry side of things. But I like to think that Gail is our most important member because she looks at trees through the eyes of an artist, and
I'm the
she sees
crier.
things that
She
Bob and
will
Rich and
cry.
I can't see. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we just see chlorophyll being produced and, yeah, and roots extending and hazards with the trees and things like that. But Gail sees the beauty of the tree.
Mhm.
Thank
Well
you.
said. Yeah.
Yeah, and we very much look forward to your involvement. You're certainly welcome to join us, and we look forward to integrating you into the program and finding ways that you can help us and we can help you. I was also going to mention one of our city parks does have a native plant garden. And it's maintained by the Kinnickinnick Native Plant Society, which is a sizable group, over 100 members here locally, which is,
wow.
and they do a lot of good work around town, put on public programs and so forth. But since they do have this native plant garden over in Lakeview Park, you should get a chance to see it, and perhaps at some point, maybe I can, if you would like, I can connect you with the Native Plant Society folks. 'Cause
Yes.
I'm pretty involved with that group myself.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. I should tell you, you'll get a kick out of this. I worked for the Aspen Institute years and years. This was a long time ago, but we were doing the greening of the Aspen Institute, which is it's a campus. And I was working with Andy Goldsworthy, a land artist, who is, if anyone knows Andy Goldsworthy, Google him if you don't. And we were turning over all the turf and all of that to native plants. And there was a language barrier. Andy's from Europe. And when I said, I'm going to green the Aspen Institute and here's my plan, he said, no, that's not what we want. We want the native plants. And I said, well, that's what I mean. Like, so we got, oh, I love it. Well, I definitely am excited to connect with you more on all of that.
And one member who also isn't here, Molly McCann, is our newest member. She's on the Lakes Commission, heads up the Lakes Commission right now. So she's very busy with other things. So she doesn't make it to all of our meetings, but she's another valuable voice to have here.
And do you meet once a month?
We try to meet once a
Prepare.
month. It's been a little bit irregular this
We are
past
getting
year.
ourselves kicked off. We partly needed the resources in-house to adequately support you and get this plan going. And I think we are getting ourselves where we are landed with both our consultant on board and then the staffing support. So
Mhm. Yeah, and I guess just another historical note here is that up until last year, when Kim took over the city forester title, we had a city forester that took care of the street trees within the city right of way, but not parks. And there was always that gap there, and I think it's a good move to finally bring those under one umbrella. All the trees in the city that the city owns is responsible for now under one comprehensive management.
And two, I think probably Jennifer's already shared with me, but we have Jim Flock coming in doing our overall retooling of our urban forestry plan. And so, I mean, the timing couldn't be better for him now to have her resources available and her knowledge and know how she can maybe we can tool our new plan towards that. So, I mean, the timing is excellent. I'm really excited about where we're going. I'm excited to have someone with expertise. I have the enthusiasm, just not the expertise, and she's got both. And you still have my enthusiasm.
and the historical knowledge.
And the historical knowledge.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been here forever. Next to Bill.
This is going to be a rock star team.
Okay, but yes, we are in a bit of a transition phase
It's
right
gonna
now.
be
so we're-
awesome. And in a year, we're gonna go, wow, man.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Anything else for Maeve here before we move on? Are there any other general announcements or anyone else?
We didn't mention anything about our neighborhoods program to Maeve, so she would know. I don't know if timing is right,
Well,
but
that's a good
one
point.
little thing is, one little big thing for us is that we've had this program, how long? Doug?
Well, Stephen is the one
Stephen
who
started it.
started it, so
So
it's,
it's
yeah,
15
15, 18
Yeah,
years.
15 years at least.
And we have all of our city edges, I don't know how to speak properly
Rights of
on
way.
this. Pardon?
Right away.
Yeah, that's right. We offer people, citizens in town, to have a free tree planted in that zone. So all of our hazardous trees that we're losing and all of our old guys, we're able to bring in fresh blood. And it's just pretty exciting when you drive through town and look, and we're proud that we've been able to like freshen up our urban forest.
Wonderful. It's a special program and we're looking forward to even to it growing absolutely into the future. So
And just kind of follow up there with Jim, what we talked about is, because it has planted over 1,000 trees, right?
Mhm.
Right. And so it's an awesome program, but maybe is to recognize that and be as strategic as we possibly can about where we plant and different and associate with different projects. So, you know, and I have a list of probably 8 or 9 people right now that have been calling on the neighborhoods program. So I have a list ready to go. But again, we kind of put the pause button on everything. And so it's not like we have discontinued that program. It's just that we said, hey, let's wait a minute. Let's bring in our expertise of Jim, and now we have Maeve. And so I think that she will recognize that as a resource.
the motto is the right tree, the right place. Yeah, we really want to keep that motto at the forefront.
And some of the things we've learned from the neighborhoods program is sometimes we have not been as monitoring as close as we can the right tree in the right place. We've had to go in some and remove some of those neighborhood trees for sightlines and stop sign corners and things like that. So that's just something to think about when we're going in and we give somebody a tree and we get them all stoked and then we cut it down. So,
As in we on our end.
yeah, we city, because
Yeah.
ultimately public safety, we've got to coexist, right?
Mhm.
So it's just, and it's not, of the 1,000 trees, there's maybe 2 or something.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
saying,
it's,
but yeah,
it's so minimal that
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
has
but it is
happened.
something that
So-
we've got to just, that we learn from. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we're only down if we do it twice.
The worst thing is giving somebody a tree and then coming out and having to tell them to take it out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
But overall, it's been 99%, and people are, stoked.
And there's also an educational component of it for a property owner to receive a tree or two. Then they have to attend a workshop that Bob puts on, Bob and others put on. And so it stresses the importance of maintaining the tree and caring for the tree and that sort of thing. So,
That's
so it gives a kind of an educated ownership to each tree that's planted.
And we call it neighborhoods.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you. Well, let's move on then. We have minutes from the previous meeting. Has everyone had a chance to look at those? And are there any corrections or changes, amendments? If not, could I get a motion to approve them as written?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
Sharon? Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes as written, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Okay, well, let's get on to our urban forestry program assessment and see where we are with that. If we get a little update on what Jim Flott has done so far and where we're going.
Thanks, Bob. At the city's request, Jim's kind of put our project on hold a bit until we can gather some more information, knowing that we were looking for our parks planner. And with Maeve on board now, going forward with trying to do some public input on an overall general questionnaire that Linda, our grants and performance person, of all these titles, has been working on. So I think, we're ready to go forward in earnest. In all honesty, right now is a crazy time for the city as far as just projects and summer and festival and all those things. And so it just, yeah, growth has just been insane and to try to stay ahead. But not to say that we are under contract with Jim. We are going forward. He is ready to go forward as soon as we are ready to go forward. And so now with this survey that we're going to go over today, and so this is the intent of this, and I'm kind of learning, and Jennifer, feel free to fill in as needed, but kind of an overall survey. And then we may go back forward Jim's consideration as we go forward to have more public meetings. And then even there may be surveys down the line that are more specific. And really for me, and I don't hope I'm not speaking out of turn, what it boils down to is money. I mean, we need to have money to run our urban forest and resources. And there are some different mechanisms and tools. Right now, we all know that the burden in Sandpoint is on the contiguous property owners of the rights of way. So if there's, I've been getting, I didn't realize how many issues there are, stop signs and sidewalks, and they're hitting, you know, and line of sight issues. And the property owners, most of them don't understand that it's their responsibility. And the same thing with the weeds. So anything in the rights of way. So as we go forward there with minimal resources for our urban forestry, are there some different things out there where we could go, instead of just having the responsibility be on the property owner, could we go in and look at the city and then have a X amount of dollar per property assessment go into our urban forest? And so there's different things that communities
I
do.
love that you're thinking about that.
Yeah, and there are, and Boise's the only city in Idaho that takes care of all of the city trees.
Mm.
And to my mind, you know, I think in 50 years we'll be there, and I would hope that we maybe consider going that direction. Again, it'll kind of come back on Jim Flott. He's been very successful in getting the program going in Spokane, and full disclosure, Spokane still does not take care of all of their tree expenses. I mean, they still have the property owner, which is kind of on the west, you know, that's kind of the norm, but the east has been where the cities have taken over. And I think, you know, just from my brief time of looking at what's happening and for safety overall, for health of the trees, I think that's a good direction to go. But again, I don't want to come in preconceived, even though I already did, about where I think this is going with Jim coming forward with this plan. So truly, we want to find out really what our citizens are. And so segue back to this one, this is trying to say, you know, what are the values that you have as a citizen for trees? And so what I would hope we could do is just maybe go through this really quickly. Again, this is a draft that Linda put together. I went over with some real small edits. And so there really hasn't been a lot of input into it. If we could kind of go through it really quick, if you would like to lead us, Bob, or
Maybe if I can give just
Okay.
a little bit more context on this too. So this is intended to be our baseline assessment moving into the community workshops. So Jim had his initial workshop with you, the tree committee, and then the next step was to move into committee workshops after this baseline survey. And so this is, it's not clean, so don't worry, people are not filling out a written survey like this. This is actually created in our GIS system. And so it would be an online survey, and we're ready to launch when this committee is comfortable with this. So it comes off of recommendations. Jim gave us his recommendation of a survey, and then it went over to Linda, who handles our, again, our grants and performance management. So Linda has a PhD in research methodology, so all of our surveys go through her, because she kind of gives it that, are we going to get the information we want out of this? Are people going to be able to understand it? Is it too long? Linda kind of does all of that cleanup. So she's created this. It's not as clean when you're looking at it in hard copy because it's designed to be an electronic survey. So the intent with this would be to get this launched here in the next week and get this promoted out with the public, open through August. So we have time to get responses in, although we typically see the public response most often in our first couple of weeks, and then look at getting that community workshop going after Labor Day, kids back in school and people kind of out of summer mode, and hopefully our tourism dying down a little bit. So that would be the plan with this, and then those workshops moving forward and real input in the committee work beginning.
So how are you publicizing this? How are you getting it out to the community?
So we typically announce these surveys through our Engage Sandpoint app, through press releases to the Bee, press releases to the Reader, on our website with links off of our website, on our Facebook page with links off of our Facebook page. Public who maybe doesn't have access to complete surveys, we actually have the kiosk here in City Hall too. People can come in and fill out the surveys here. Our survey rate here actually, it depends on the topic and people's interest with the topic. So this will be interesting. It's another one of those on, how much public interest there will be around trees in our urban forestry. But we did a survey about this time last year around dogs in parks. And we had over 700 responses to that. It was just of people within the city. So people are pretty used to our survey methods now and how to access those. For those who have the Engage Sandpoint app, they get notifications. It comes out on their mobile device, and that's a growing number of users. So our electronic surveys have been pretty successful. This will be the first one. This is our first one that we're moving over into our GIS system, but the benefit of that is the benchmarks, all of that will be, so people can see it in our GIS system, and this is where we're moving with our survey tools.
And this will be the only issue at that meeting? Is
Yes.
Just tree,
Yes,
good.
it is about urban forestry. Yes, so we are in, kind of like we've done our master plans for everything else. We've had our master plans on transportation, our master plans on parks, our master plans on water, our master plans on all the other things. This is a dedicated effort to specifically your topic, urban forestry, trees. This is about master planning for and reviewing our current plan, how we're moving forward in the future, which will be the whole piece of it, how we're administering it, what we're including in it, how we're funding it. So this is meant to be baseline for that.
Summary, we're no longer at the kids' table, we're at the bank table.
Mhm.
So that's awesome. Jennifer's made it a priority for our urban forest.
Good. So anyone can fill this out, not just Sandpoint residents.
That's correct. And
Yeah.
we capture data so we can break it down. And are you somebody who's living in the city? So going through our GIS system, we can actually map out where our survey respondents are from too. So are we proportionate to different areas of the city? And yes, we do get input from people who live outside of the city, who come into the city because maybe their kids are in school, or maybe they own property, whether that be a business or residential property that they're renting, or maybe they are somebody that works in a business in downtown. So we want to hear those voices because this is their community too. They just are not our property taxpayers necessarily.
Mhm.
So
Okay,
we can
good.
break down all the results that way. Yep.
The only thing I think of with these surveys, and I think this is great, and it's such a great baseline to have, is trying to reach people who normally don't respond to surveys. And it's hard, I know. But it comes to, I just think, just off the top of my head, is it worth having somebody at the farmer's market where people can fill out just a hard copy survey right there in the moment? But when you're at the farmer's market, it is also a certain population that maybe isn't even more likely to fill out a survey. Like, where else in the community can you reach people who normally might not stop to think about trees too often? And because I love the idea of including those people. I realize it's very difficult, but I just wanted to say that for the record. And if anybody has any good ideas as far as just trying to expand even just a little bit, maybe the people who respond to a survey like this, but
I
it's a
think
great
that
start.
it's a really important point. And it's true, our surveys and electronic surveys, that isn't a way to necessarily reach our whole population. What we found successful in our other master planning efforts is a way to get some baseline for a starting point for a
Yeah.
discussion. So again, I see this moving into the fall, and that's what Jim had planned on, is a community meeting, like a town hall meeting.
Yeah.
And again, and discussions about where that is to get people engaged in person too will be important. And doesn't necessarily mean it has to be here in City Hall. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be
Okay.
one. So
Yeah.
just something to think about besides just the survey and engaging people is as we roll out into the next steps. But having a starting point of here's what we've heard, is this accurate, right? It starts to become a good gauging point for
Yeah.
those discussions.
And you guys as advocates, right? That's your role. So, you know, you set it to 10, ask them to set
Yeah.
it to 10.
Yeah.
Kind of like the flu, it spreads.
Kim, I don't know if that was the best
Yeah.
analogy these days.
Not the best metaphor.
Too soon, Kim.
So if I could build on that, I think, at least from my perspective, what I've had a lot of success with this type of stuff is, this is the foundation, right? And it's the launch point, but you know, in Anchorage, we do a lot of this kind of outreach, and a lot of times, I mean, a lot of people, there's a barrier to using technology with seniors particularly, and they might be the ones that we really want to touch point. So, you know, by going in with some sort of a tablet or something to assisted care facilities, or setting up some stations just at the farmer's market, like you suggested, that's all stuff that, you know, we can definitely do. And so just keeping that in mind. And then I'm gonna always push towards the children. You know, anytime we can activate the kids always go to their parents. There's always, you know, this subtle, you know, peer pressure to get the mom and dad to participate. And so maybe there's some incentives with that.
To do something with the public schools
Exactly.
and also, yeah,
a great
publicizing the survey.
Right. And it also creates stewardship. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities, and maybe we can partner with some of our,
I
Our
love that you have
local-
experience with this.
I do, I
That's
have
great.
a ton.
Yeah.
Yes. No, this is fun. That'll be great.
Okay, so Kim, are we just supposed to make any kind of
Well, yeah, I think we just
suggestions,
go through
edits
here
things?
and question by question and, you know, realize
Is there
this.
anything significant we've
Yeah.
missed? You weren't involved in the creation of this. I think taking a look at it, are we asking a question that I don't know what they're asking for. You know, you're our good first gauge before this goes live.
Yeah, well, the first thing that jumps out at me is this first statement that Sandpoint has a tree maintenance program dedicated to managing, maintaining, and preserving public trees. We really do very little actual maintenance. I mean, that right there, I think is going to give people the impression that the city's responsible for the trees. And
I agree.
I think we need to rework
You
that.
can almost just take maintenance out.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
And
there's a
Sandpoint
tree
has a
program.
tree
Yes.
program dedicated to managing, maintaining, and then it doesn't imply that maintenance program is being the chief component of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I
That
didn't
would
know
help
how
a
to
lot.
answer that.
Yeah.
Like,
I
no.
have a feeling you would have said no.
Okay. Good.
But yeah, if we just take out maintenance, that certainly is a big help. I don't know if we want to take out maintaining.
Has
Well,
an urban forestry program? Can we still call
I-
it some
Yeah.
tree program?
I like that better.
And maybe urban forestry for consistent verbiage
Yeah.
throughout the document.
Absolutely,
Is that
yeah.
kind of what we,
Because
Yeah.
it
Wanna
looks like
call it,
it's
right?
trees throughout. Yeah.
and urban
forestry.
forest?
You know, and then kind of another point is that a number of years ago, when the Idaho Department of Lands embarked on this statewide urban forestry program, they quickly recognized that the most people, most Idaho citizens, they would think of Boise being an urban area, but certainly not Sagal, Idaho,
Yeah,
or someplace like
yeah.
that. And so they refer to it as the Idaho Urban and Community Forestry Program, and emphasizing community forestry in the smaller towns.
Mhm.
And because someone is maybe see Sandpoint urban, you know, they
Right.
think of New York City or something. So
I agree.
What is the city officially calling? Because I was under the impression it was like Jared was called the urban forester, but
I'll defer that to
Does-
Maeve.
community
Maeve, what are we
forester?
going to call ourselves?
I would definitely include community. Yeah, I think, let's.
So
I would-
that
I
might
would-
be something we,
I would push that
moving
towards
forward,
though,
we,
part of the planning.
yeah.
It shouldn't come from me. It should come from all of you to decide. And I'm not sure if you have any regulations on renaming programs.
Yeah.
Sometimes there are in the code. So yeah, I would defer to Kim, actually, if there's any
Yeah, and I think that this may be something, as we retool and go into our code and be consistent in what we call it, because it's just like, there probably are
Yes.
4 or 5 different references to the
Yeah.
same thing.
Right, yeah.
So I think as we're cleaning that up, that's a great discussion to start.
Yeah.
And I think Bill's spot on the community part.
More inclusive.
Mhm.
And in context of the survey, then we don't need to really split that, we don't have to have the official name of the city program. We could just refer to it as a community forestry, program and
Just
that's it.
generally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
In context of the survey.
So for the survey,
And then consideration as we revisit.
Yeah, because if it's gonna involve code changes and things like that, well, then
Because
that's.
it probably will. I mean,
Yeah,
it's,
and-
hopefully that's what I'm banking on.
Yeah.
I want to retool.
Sure, yeah. And that's down the
Mhm.
road.
I want my
and-
money's
and-
worth.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's down the road and not to impair the
Right,
survey
correct.
launching in the next day or two.
that's a great way to articulate it.
Mhm.
So in the second question, would you alter that to, where it's again about trees and urban forests?
Community forest.
Community.
Well, we do have this statement right at it says urban forest plan, that's the main the banner headline there. And then it says an urban forest and it puts a definition for it
That's right, yes.
there.
And
So,
It's conflicting too, because you might know a lot about trees, but you may not know about the urban forest and what the differences
I
are.
agree.
So that
It's two different.
It could either be two different questions or merging the two to clarify what it is you're asking.
No, I'm lost. Is the community
they're two.
forest and the urban forest the same definition?
It depends.
Okay, because to Bill's point, we're up here, we're calling urban forest, and then we have a definition of urban forest. So
And you
for the
have to
purpose
look
of the survey,
we have
What's
to
the
have some
definition?
consistency here.
Yeah,
I
that's
think.
right.
yeah, we would definitely have to be consistent.
Yeah.
So it starts with the definition, right?
Yeah.
Where's the definition?
Right there under
Right.
under the green
In
thing.
the smaller font.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It all kind of boils down to what Bill said when IDL went down that route, is they looked at urban and the community. And I think that Maeve is suggesting community, I'm thinking community, is because urban kind of freaks people out.
Yeah.
I'm
I
like,
think,
"Urban,
I
live
think
in
we're
Sandpoint."
all in agreement with that, and it's just a matter of just, I mean, we
Just
know
retool.
that it's gonna
Yeah.
be,
Well, I
you're
think-
gonna change urban to community in this document, in this survey.
My
or every-
recommendation though is not, okay, so, sorry, I'm jumping ahead on this, but be consistent with the urban forest because you do define it beforehand. And then you could say the community is who you're serving. So somewhere further on, you can discuss how it serves the community at large. But in this situation, are you aware that this is a copywriting exercise? So are you aware that Sandpoint has an urban forest program? Just leave it at that, not talk about tree maintenance or anything. I would just keep it at that. And then you could say dedicated to managing, maintaining, and preserving public tree resources throughout the community instead of the city. That way,
Mhm.
you're covered.
And I was
Does that
gonna,
work for everyone?
I think that's good. And I was gonna suggest also on that first sentence of the definition, the urban forest is a collection of trees that grows within a community rather than the city.
Yeah.
And that way we tie in the community with the urban
Yes.
forest.
Yeah, I think we need to do some tweaking on that
The
too, and note
community.
right at the very outset that this is on public property. It includes right of ways, parks.
Yeah, that's
Because
really good.
We can also
Yeah.
get sideways
Yeah.
really quick.
And
that
it
we're
is
telling
confusing.
people what to do
Mhm.
on their private property.
Are you making final edits?
No, well, I think we're getting the notes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're still gonna refer to it as an urban forest plan, not a community forest plan.
Yep.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, like you said, as long as it's consistent, but you're gonna emphasize the relationship of the urban forest within the community.
Yeah.
So
Okay, moving forward.
I think I have it. How does this sound? Are you aware that Sandpoint has an urban forest program dedicated to managing, maintaining, and preserving public tree resources located on public property throughout the community?
Oh, she's good. Yeah,
Does that work?
that sounds good to me.
Just copyright.
And at some point, maybe it doesn't need to be in the, or maybe it does, but some kind of definition of right of way.
I think we get it up here in the top, this
Okay.
opening paragraph. I think we tweak that with some
Okay.
more background and
Yeah.
not one of the
And I don't know
questions,
if there's
but
Right,
the
yeah.
more
opening.
specific questions about right of way and just making sure that people know what that actually means. But maybe that will be addressed later in the survey.
Yeah, no, because a huge opportunity are for the private properties and they're owned, and that's really, I mean, right away is some, but the
Such a huge part of
lion's
the
share is.
program. Yeah,
And I've been talking to a lot of people that says,
They don't-
man, you know, I'm glad to put a whole bunch over here, here, here.
yeah,
And it's just, you know, is the net at the end of the day is your
yeah.
canopy.
And it is confusing because our urban forest does include people who have planted trees on their private property, but what we're all here for are the ones that are planted in city property and right of ways, and then that unique relationship between private property
Correct.
owners and the city.
And when we nail that, then we can go after their
Yeah.
private property and encourage them there.
Yeah, so I love the idea of spending like time really getting that definition right.
Which
And
maybe
Maeve is gonna
should
be a
be
great
a
resource
little
for that.
bit bigger visually, since Sharon couldn't
Yeah.
even find it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, because I look at my glass, oh, here they are. okay.
Oh, there they are.
And now again, this will be electronic, so what you're seeing
Yeah,
on paper doesn't mean, you know, it might be in a colored box, it might, and actually, I don't know, because I'm just making stuff up, but yes.
And even in like an invitation to read the definition.
Yeah.
Of, you know, so we're all on the same page, you know, as we take the survey.
Okay, we better-
This is good.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we're not even past them.
We'll get to page 2 in a moment.
Sorry, that's what defines the best.
But yeah,
Yeah.
getting that straight
Yeah,
is
that's
huge.
key.
Yeah, it is.
It's on the same boat.
And I would
Okay.
say the graphic maybe could be attached. Is there,
that's a
when you
good
did the
idea.
mapping, there must be something that can show, or maybe there's a link to the map,
Yeah,
or something like that.
yeah, I think we can do that
Oh,
electronically.
I love that
Yeah.
idea of having a visual for
Mhm.
people like me who learn
So they
visually.
can,
Yeah.
they can grasp
Yeah,
how many trees
yeah.
we're talking about.
Look at a
from
map,
visual
a
side.
picture. Yeah.
Wait a minute, like looking down on this, or what's
It could
your?
be, yeah, it could be. It just depends. If it's in GIS, then you can do an aerial, you know, like a
Mhm.
bird's eye view. You could be looking down, or it could be, yeah, you can play with the graphics on that. But something that pops up that says, you know, as
This
if
is
we're-
what we're
we're-
talking
This is what
about.
we're talking about. This is an urban forest. We're referring to these
Yeah.
trees. And
This is
maybe
this is a
sample.
row.
Right, this is a
Yeah.
right of way. This
Yeah.
is the private property. Show that relationship
Yeah.
of what that looks like.
Yeah,
Cool.
that's
Simple
great.
graphic.
I like it.
Okay. I think that's going to be an improvement there. I think just maybe you want to just scan on down through the questionnaire and see if there's anything else that we need to discuss here.
So number two is good. Is that right, Bob?
2 looks fine.
Okay.
I have number 3 here.
Hmm.
I like it.
If you don't have like a more important.
So I'm sorry,
here on-
on
on
number
the-
3, are
Yeah.
they asking what are about the streets, the sidewalks and the lighting? Are they asking us to make comments about that or?
No,
No,
just
that-
compare trees
Compared to streets and
Uh,
sidewalks and lighting, how do you rate trees as value?
Okay.
As part of
Is part of
the
the-
overall infrastructure.
Okay.
Shouldn't we have like a more important option? The most you can say is they're only equally important to these other things. What if someone thinks they're more important than the other?
Yeah.
That's what Bob would go.
Maybe,
The
maybe nobody
most
else.
important.
He doesn't care about sidewalks. He wants trees.
Maybe no one will choose that option, but
That's fair.
I sort of,
Yeah,
think-
you're
I think it
right.
needs to be in there
You
at
know.
least.
All right.
Yeah,
Most.
that's a good.
Good job.
Another.
The
job.
Lorax speed.
Yeah. Oh. Hmm.
The one thing I said on the next one is, do you want to combine parks and street trees or separate them as far as measure?
Where are you?
On a scale of 1,
On the
grade 4 or
second
5, very
page, the
good.
top one.
Top
Oh,
of the second page there.
Yeah, second page.
Or-
This just groups them all together, which is fine. Let's leave it at that.
I don't know, I could go either way.
Should it be quality or how, quality is, I don't know if that's the word to use.
Health,
Health would be another-
vitality.
Yeah, health is, but that's another question, because
Yeah.
you
It
could
is.
say quality and yeah.
Value?
Well, that's.
Well, value is
I
subjective. I
I
think.
don't know, I think quality's kind of a general enough term that people can read it how they want.
Well, what is this? So as the person on the other side using the data, if someone answered this question for me,
What are you
I
gonna
would
use
say,
it
well,
for?
what did you mean by quality of,
Yeah.
did you mean it looked good? It has nice shade. What is that quality? What is that referencing? Is it,
Visual aesthetic?
Yeah.
is it-
Visual,
so-
I like that.
but that's a different
Yeah,
question.
Yeah,
and
it
that's, what
is.
I would want to know health.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I-
I mean, that's where I go to is,
Yeah.
but it may not be that, it may not be to that
Understood.
to the artist. The artist may say, wow, the form and shape of that really accents the
Yeah.
architecture.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be completely, what is your value of the quality? What is it?
Well, maybe we should leave the statement as is, but behind quality in parentheses, put some of these other characteristics that they can use, like health and appearance and vitality.
But wouldn't you want to know that if you're on the other end, if we as planners are looking at this, what's the point of me asking this question? Everything that you ask should be for a reason so that the planners can then develop your plan, right?
Well, if you
So,
want
so you're otherwise, it's like, well, that's a great conversation, but I wanted to learn something. So what I would like to know as a planner on the flip side of this survey is I'd like to know, do people think these trees are healthy? Do people think these trees have an aesthetic value? Those are two separate questions.
And you
So
know, yeah, but
dive
you
into
could
them.
do
So
the
maybe we
same
break
thing.
it
You
up.
could do the same thing on a 1 to 10 and then have health and then aesthetic, 1 to 5.
I
1
think
to
that would
5.
be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
they may get into that further on, but,
Bingo, yeah.
And Maeve, it seems like, you're one of the ones that is actually going to be looking at this.
Exactly.
She's
Yeah.
So
gonna be the
it is
one that- yeah.
critical for
Exactly.
you to go through
Exactly.
this
yes.
and.
And mind you, I just got here.
Yeah, I know, I know.
So I'm
And that's
just-
what,
I'm
but that's
speaking
what
from the
I'm
cup.
saying is like, maybe
Right.
in the next month or
Right.
so, that when you have the time to go through this, because,
Well, it
yeah,
sounds
you're
like
the
they
one
wanna
that's gonna
launch
be using
it.
the data.
I think they want to launch it right now.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
yeah, the more we can get through this today,
And-
we have busy lives. So the more we can get through it today, the quicker that your team can run and launch
And
it.
if we need to
Um,
later on have more, we can go dive into that. But this will be a start.
Yeah.
Because we need to
yeah.
start the process, get it to Jim, to blah, blah, blah. And,
So
and
we're
maybe
gonna
that's how
break
we
it out
roll is off
into
we roll off the fly. So
Aesthetics
you're
and
perfect.
health. Does that
Yes.
sound?
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
think of
Yeah.
quality, are there any other categories that you all? What's your
Diversity.
language? Diversity.
Diversity, I like that one.
So I'm just gonna, so there's the person that wrote this survey, there are options when you write these surveys. It might actually be some sort of a matrix where
Yeah.
1 to 5 health,
Mhm.
instead of, they could
Yeah.
rewrite this question.
As
Yeah, you
far as
can-
when to do it for the measurable, usable aspect.
Right,
correct?
right. right. That would then.
Have you
give
met
me
Linda yet?
more
She's gonna be
information.
awesome, a resource for you.
Yeah.
Linda will be.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I can't believe
Yeah, I know.
your team here is incredible. Yay, very exciting.
So we're gonna break this up into not just a single box, but maybe 2 or 3 boxes.
Yeah.
Maybe make it.
And have
exactly.
each one for
ranking.
health and one for,
Aesthetics and one for
Aesthetics.
diversity.
Diversity,
Health,
though, you could go age or
aesthetics.
species.
Yeah, but just
Yeah.
leave it kind of
Yeah.
open and let people
Yeah.
decide and so.
Yeah.
yeah.
that-
Yeah.
You could have an other. they could tell us their own category.
Mm.
Well, that's a thought.
Because
That would be.
from a designer perspective, I put my designer hat, I always just look at form. I can't even tell you what type of tree is, you know, you probably deal with a lot of designers and, oh, well, I really want a box shape. I really want leaning branches. I want filtered views. If you're in a right of way and you have an intersection, I really need, you know, a linear column. You know, there's just different terminology. So
Right.
creating a language for that. I bet you a lot of this language too. I don't know if you have some bylaws or something that guide some of that language, but I always reference whatever your founding documents are in your terminology. So sorry, I could really get in the weeds on this.
No, no, that's good.
And that's why you're here.
Yeah.
Timing's awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
Glad the plane didn't get delayed. All right, hurry up, Chair.
Okay.
Seems like what, same thing.
Hopefully, if the definition of urban
Well-
forest has been clarified from the very start, you don't have to repeat it there. And then the question can just focus on, do you think the overall quality
I think that's fine.
of Sandpoint's urban forest
So
has
just nuke the
improved?
urban forest, just say
Yeah,
Sandpoint
and
consists of trees.
We're gonna bank that people have
Clued in by now that
Yeah,
that's what they're talking
what the
about.
definition is,
Yeah.
right?
Well, the surveys, whole surveys about that.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
So to restate it every time is kind
So,
of
and to
redundant.
make the question as simple as possible.
I
But we
disagree. I
need-
kind of
we
think
need-
leaving urban forest talks about it as more cumulative. When I think of just the tree, do you think the overall quality of Sandpoint's trees?
Okay,
Yeah, I think, because, I think urban
trees
forest, you're
is-
talking about the ones that are maintained by, well, maybe not.
So you're
necessarily
saying
maintained, but
that-
belong under this umbrella of urban forest versus.
So, so
Yeah,
in the
but-
second sentence, which is the question, you're talking about changing urban forest to trees.
Well, that's the question right now.
Do you think
That's,
the overall quality-
that's where we are.
Do you think that, I was just suggesting getting rid of that first sentence.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because we're banking on, it's our urban forest has already
Oh,
been
okay.
defined from the
Sorry, I
beginning.
missed
yeah,
that.
right.
And then the question, I think is fine,
great.
but if you wanted to change urban
Nope,
forest
that's
trees.
fine.
Okay,
Sorry, I was
okay.
trying to work with the 2 sentences. That works great. Perfect.
So just
I
eliminate
like
the
your
first
idea of
sentence.
trying to simplify it.
Yes, absolutely.
However, I also like saying it again, that's what we're talking about.
Because you're the artist.
Yeah,
That's why.
and sort of dense, sort of on these, reading
But you'll have seen the
comprehension.
picture.
Oh, yeah, the
The
picture.
picture's gonna be there. You're gonna see
Yeah.
that. You're gonna know what an urban forest is when you're doing this.
And the next one, over the past 10 years, do you think the number of trees in Sandpoint has increased, decreased, or stayed the same? That's a pretty straightforward
Yeah.
question, right? And it'll be interesting to see what,
It's like there's
How
one at
they
the
feel.
bottom that got cut off.
Yeah, but I think we just have to read it on the.
Yeah. Push the 2 pages together.
forward to 10 years?
Looking forward 10 years, do you expect the number of trees to increase, decrease, or stay the same without additional dedicated funding?
That's a good question, actually.
Can I, will I give you data? Because I like your, because I wasn't thinking about the person that's gonna read it, right? That's you, so.
Yeah, this is a
Well,
bait
you need
question,
info,
is how
yeah.
I would
And is
describe
it-
this. This is one where you're gonna set the stage for
Yeah.
asking for money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
gonna trigger that. This
If you
is a
read
good
through
Okay.
a few questions, and that's what, how do you
Yeah.
feel about? the
And
assessment
there
of
is
trees?
a difference between asking somebody, do they think that it's gonna increase, decrease, what, and do they want it to?
That's true.
But
Okay, so
and
let's
is
do
this one
that.
asking, do you think,
expect?
is that what it's
Do
asking?
you expect?
Do you expect? Okay, I see. Okay, yeah.
See, and here's where the pollster and the statisticians are kind of.
What are you trying to get out of this? Yeah.
Thinking,
Yeah.
ahead of it, people say, yeah, I think this, but then are you willing to support it financially?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that
yeah,
separates
yeah,
kind
this
of the.
Yeah,
That's a good
Because
question.
usually
yeah,
there's
the
a
dreamer from
disconnect
the-
between
from
the
the
two.
contributor.
Well, and
Yeah.
keep in mind that Linda wrote this.
Yeah.
There's probably some of that,
Yeah.
PhD-ness behind it.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll defer to the expert on that one.
Yeah.
What is your-
About the number of trees.
I like
Too
that.
many trees.
I like the way they separated out the
Parks and the-
neighborhoods
Yeah.
from the city parks.
That's, yeah, good.
Along streets in your
Mhm.
neighborhoods. That's awesome. Okay. Let's go.
Yeah,
I think that's well written.
yeah.
Urban trees.
That really helps, it seems like, figure out how people value the trees, yeah.
The last one
Tease that
there.
out of people,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, let's keep cranking
There's
those
just
out.
a little video clip of a landscape architect in San Francisco named Walter Hood. If you've ever heard of him, look him up. He owns Hood Designs, a brilliant urban designer, and he's a professor. He, during the pandemic, everyone's working from home, and he lives in San Francisco, and he planted one tree next to his high density area in San Francisco. And he said, everyone was gathering outside of his place. It's the one house that had the tree.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just interesting how that impacts people, and
Mhm.
especially during something where everyone's stuck at home and they can't get out in the city, they weren't really allowed to leave, so, yeah,
Mhm.
very interesting.
I love how this is including the value of trees through, filtration, pollution,
Wait,
This is
where are
great.
we?
Real
the
estate values.
real estate values, which is
Mhm.
Shopper
huge.
experiences, absolutely.
Is there one about
This is a good service.
Air quality, water quality, yeah, are addressed.
psychological and social health? Check. Wildlife habitat, noise reduction.
Oh, this is so great.
Shade, yeah,
Yeah.
especially now this summer, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
Under the next question, where do you get your tree care advice? Mark all that apply. I would add we have that Sandpoint park staff. Great, excellent. Just to bring it back. And then I wonder if your committee shouldn't be on here. Do you all do any outreach or have any?
Yeah,
public-
they do.
It-
Bob
it-
does.
Yeah.
They all do. They all do.
it
But as a
has been-
committee, as an organization?
Yeah.
We've done some outreach in the form of
How about we go
articles
Sandpoint
in.
Park staff / tree committee?
Do you participate in the Arbor Day?
As
Okay.
much as we can.
It's
So
actually
that would be-
required as a tree.
Yeah, that
city.
would be, right, yeah, exactly, we're a tree city too, in Anchorage, yeah, that would be something, I would put your committee on here, it's just another touch point, I would just add
Okay.
that, so the
Yeah.
Would you combine it with Sandpoint Park staff
No.
/ tree committee, or you'd have
separate,
separate?
because if you think about it, they might call you, or they might talk to maintenance people directly, I think giving homage to this committee would help, because then maybe you're gonna touch point and acknowledge this, and maybe get some new numbers or some support, so.
And it's true, though, that people do call and say, you're on the tree committee. What
Especially
do you think
Gail.
about?
Right,
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Okay, so we got that,
nice.
I'm still freaked out about who's taking the final notes.
I have not heard.
Okay.
oh, I'm taking notes if you want.
So when we're done, we know what changes to make. Okay.
I mean, I've been taking notes.
I've
too,
been
Yeah,
but
but we
making
also
some
have
notes
you
too.
have- I have-
A good
Okay.
question.
It's a zebra.
Do you have trees along your street? Sorry. I can't read that.
Trees along your street
frontage between the street and the sidewalk. That's all, that goes with the education process of saying, hey, do you have them?
Yeah, where do we
When
need
were they
them?
planted and who takes care of them?
Yeah, call us.
And that's
the
what I wanna know.
Neighborhoods
So
Program.
that's,
yeah.
that I think is, Maeve, I think that's good stuff for us to know.
Yeah, that'll be
Absolutely.
really interesting to see how many
Absolutely,
people
this is a good.
check the city staff. box on who performs the pruning and other tree maintenance.
No one.
Since we're not doing
Yeah,
much of that,
nobody.
Other than the
Check.
downtown, nobody.
That's true. If you say other, do you say please list? If you check other, then do we want to know that?
Well, that's what other is and you.
Well, yeah, but does it
Oh, I
say that?
see. Maybe just check it
Agreed.
now.
Just say please
Yes.
list.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, electronically, you wouldn't have a place to put that in.
And you've got
Anything
you've
they
got the
can tell us.
mothership survey, right? So
Yeah,
you're-
I've got
okay.
the mothership. Yep.
Okay.
Back on the note.
You're awesome. I saw you write it down. I go, sweet.
It registers in my brain if I write it. I just. can't
That's
remember
good.
that
I'm
last
glad to know that.
Okay, do you need number one?
Oh, it's okay. I got the bigger ones. Thanks.
Okay.
I'll just hold it way back.
So we're good with
Yeah,
the
That's a good
the
one.
the ordinance, place and planting pruning, correct? That's good, as is?
Mhm.
I like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
You like that, Gail?
I like the next one too.
Okay, good. That's good. Did you
Yeah,
know that
by
other
the
than the
way.
downtown district, the duty and related expenses of tree maintenance in the city right of way is the responsibility of the neighboring property owner?
Yeah,
Good to know.
good to
Next,
have that in there.
everybody's good on that one?
yeah.
Okay, the following is a list of programs and services provided by other urban forestry programs. Please rate the priority for each of the following. Review of new development projects for tree retention and
Yeah.
replanting,
That second one there,
risk assessment for
it
tree,
mentions private trees.
risk assessment for street
And-
and private trees
Oh.
when requested by code enforcement.
Like code enforcement,
And that's, you know what I
as
learned?
opposed to private.
Because
request.
bugs, if you have bugs in your trees on private property, it's the city's responsibility.
Mhm.
Wow.
Bob and I almost jumped down that one.
Yeah.
here In the last
Well, if
month or
it's a,
so.
yeah, if it's a serious invasive problem.
Right.
Are we
Wait,
talking
wait,
about
can you say
like,
that again? So,
We're hands off on private property except for bugs
interesting.
Or
I didn't know
disease.
that.
or diseases.
Yeah, we had a call earlier this year. Someone was
Makes
afraid they
sense.
had
Yeah.
Dutch elm disease.
Because see,
Yeah.
that can go crazy, right? So then we
It's-
step in
Yeah,
and
it's
say,
an
hey, you're
invasive
gonna-
and it would be something that we would want to try to eradicate from the city
Instantly.
if it did actually show up.
was it true?
No,
No.
it was not.
Oh.
And that is
I
good for
went and looked at the
citizens to
trees.
know that
It
that
is.
is.
Well,
They
there's
they
one
were
lady,
elm,
she
they
was
were
convinced
elm,
me.
so they have that part right, but
Yeah.
they had a serious elm
She is
leaf
an
miner,
interest- She is an
a
interesting.
little
woman.
insect that gets into the leaves and they were just
Oh,
eating
good.
all the chlorophyll out of the leaves, so they're turning yellow. So they thought
Oh, yeah.
they had a
That's good
problem.
news.
Sounds like that's
How
elm
about
disease to
the
me.
spruce
No.
beetle?
Yeah, you make the
The
connection,
spruce beetle?
elm tree, and then if there's any kind of a yellow leaf, it's.
Yeah.
Okay.
But,
Now, let's see, on that risk assessment for street and private trees, would we want to put public and private trees, public instead of street trees? To stress that it could be not
Yes.
just that it could be a park tree as well as
Yeah. I don't think people know what street trees
Yeah.
are.
risk assessment
Okay,
for
so-
public,
Probably.
yeah, and private. Because that elsewhere, we talk about public trees being in the right of way and that sort of thing.
Code enforcement, what? Is code enforcement?
um,
No, 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 this what this is pointing out to some cities in their code will provide for someone from city or staff to come out and do a risk assessment on a tree in their backyard. for
Some
instance.
cities.
Yeah, some, yeah,
Okay,
But our
otherwise,
code does mention that the city has the right to do things like perhaps remove a tree if it's infected with something that like a Dutch elm disease or
is that in our
some insect. that-
Yes, it is.
Horticultural
That's- it- it's-
manual.
it is.
Okay, good.
It's in our code and
Huh,
But
okay.
outside of that, one kind of example, there really isn't, for private trees are private, we don't have any.
But so like if a fir is dead in the
Yeah.
backyard.
Yeah.
Is
if,
anyone
if,
gonna,
if people don't like the tree in the backyard, they cut down. we have, they are not
Okay, but
protected
we're not gonna
species.
go in there and say, you have got
If
beetle
if there are
kill.
bugs who say, hey, your stuff might be spreading, let's work together to remedy this, is what we would do. Because if it's gonna jeopardize
The
that,
rest.
that quadrant of town and our right-of-way trees in our urban forest, we're gonna be proactive.
Cool.
So
Okay.
it's good stuff.
Okay, so, Bill?
Bill.
So the second question on the bottom, we're just changing private to public. correct?
Yeah. Mhm.
Got it.
Needs to have an estimate.
What's this business about using volunteers
No, I mean, she's on this
on
one
here, on the third? Coordinate, it says coordinate street tree planting and pruning project using volunteers.
Really? Wait.
That doesn't seem like,
I'm sorry, I'm not.
that doesn't relate to anything I know that's going on.
Oh.
Where we at, guys? Where we at, Chair?
The coordinate street tree planting and pruning
Oh,
projects
yeah.
using volunteers.
Provided by other urban forestry, okay.
And
all
so this is
right.
just asking, pointing out, here is some services that other cities
Oh, I
provide,
Thank
see.
you. Like,
to
what
their
are we doing?
citizens. How do you feel about
Okay.
Sandpoint?
Other
doing-
maybe should be underlined for
Ah,
mutants
yeah.
like
I
us,
didn't,
okay.
sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
read the question.
Yeah, these aren't,
I kind of missed that
I just
too.
answered it.
Here is an
Okay.
example, here of a list of examples of programs. Anyway, not just a list, something,
Here's a list of program, yeah,
a list of
or other.
the following are examples of programs.
following examples of programs.
Oh,
Following-
good. Good. Ooh, the memorial tree, would that be the heritage tree program,
It
pretend?
would be something like that, yeah.
Memorial tree.
The city of Coeur d'Alene and as well as a lot of cities have a memorial tree program where if someone wants to donate a tree in memory of granddad or
Oh,
Yeah, we
uncle
get that all the
Henry
time.
or something like that.
Oh,
And so some trees, that's how they get a lot of their, especially park trees planted. And then kind of as a follow-up to it, if someone makes a donation for that memorial tree, then you'll typically be some sort of a little plaque or something at the
Or
base of it.
tile.
And we talked about that, over the years.
Portland's one of
is-
those cities
yeah,
that does
yeah.
that, yeah.
But
Yeah, but I
then-
don't like that.
Yeah,
because then you
yeah.
gotta take care of them.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
Sucks.
yeah. There's the logistical aspect that if it's a little, concrete
to mow
plaque or
over
raspberry,
it.
yeah, so maintaining it. Plus, and in some people's opinion, then that makes your city park look like a
Graveyard.
graveyard, because, instead of tombstones, well, every tree has this little.
I'm one of
plaque,
those dudes.
yeah,
Really?
yeah, and so, yeah, and then, and then, well, it's called a memorial tree program, but then, well, some people, well, I don't, that's necessarily in memory of Grandpa, but I just want to celebrate Grandpa and Grandma's 50th anniversary, and so then they'll expand it to that way, but there's that logistical implication of the taking care of the whatever.
Sustainability
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
it's-
hmm.
Real quick, I just want to go back to the actual wording of this question.
Yeah.
So we just rewrote it, and I just want to clarify if these items are examples of our urban forestry management in Sandpoint, or if they're just generic urban forestry management.
Yeah, I'm
Ideas.
confused
Yeah.
So
too,
we wanted
because
to
it
make
looks
sure we
like
clarify
some of
that.
these
That's a question
things
for
we
you.
already provide,
Yeah.
and some of them maybe are examples from other.
So, yeah,
programs.
that's, does anyone, maybe, I think Kim, and maybe Kim, you can look at this longer or in the future. But is it ours or is it? Is it our programs or is it generic?
And am I wrong about in these examples? It seems like there are examples of programs we already have within our city, but then there are some that aren't, like the
Maybe we
memorial.
Just need to take out the word other, and the
Yeah.
following is a list of programs and services provided by urban forestry programs.
Okay,
We may
Yeah.
provide them, we may not, they
Yeah.
may know of them, they
Yeah.
may not, so
But
this
you're right,
gives them.
that-
Then we're
That's
just, we're
it.
just looking, at the end of the
That's it.
day,
Just
we're
take out
looking
other.
for something that,
Yeah.
for her, when she gets the information, what's she gonna do with it?
I just wanted to
Yeah.
clarify
Ex-
what,
And
like
it's
what,
excellent clarification.
It looks like a tree guy created this survey.
Do we have to get a permit for planting in in the zone? I don't think so, right? I mean, if people
They
can
need
plant,
to contact the city.
they
because-
do,
Oh, yeah.
but they don't.
Oh,
right?
yeah, a lot of people do.
They do and they don't.
Some do. Some don't.
I'm gonna put my hat on as a city person for this one and say probably should if we're doing inventory. Get a
Mhm.
permit, if anything, just to get, and maybe
Yeah.
the permit doesn't cost any money or anything. I don't know.
But
To
there's
get it
that
on track.
sightline situation.
There's
where,
the
yeah,
sightlines, there's also invasive. Are they planting a species that is?
That
and
we
maybe,
don't
I would say-
approve.
Well, we have
We have a list.
pre-authorized
They are required.
species and we have different, you remember the class 1, 2, 3.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got different classifications and in each one we have pre-approved species for
Perfect.
planting. That's it.
Yeah.
So-
And so if someone
So she's
takes it
right.
upon
Well-
themselves to
Well, then,
put
we
in,
then we just need to
then-
keep an eye out or,
Yeah.
well, you
It,
know.
it's just, it comes down to enforcement.
which,
And,
Yeah,
and periodically through the 5-year
and
cycle, then
education.
Bob will
Yeah.
catch when he does
Yeah.
his survey.
Which is what this is all about. We're trying
But
to
we
get a
get
hold
90%
of
of it.
what
That's pretty
people's
good.
knowledge of the
Oh, absolutely.
programs and requirements are, so.
Kim, on the maintenance assessment, did Jim have this question or did we add that in there
Which one?
on this, the next one on the scale of 1 to 5?
Review and issues.
No.
What does it start with?
Next question.
On a scale of right after this.
oh, wait,
Support establishment of a tree maintenance
I think
district
that
assessment.
was Jim, but I was
Okay.
all over it.
That needs to be defined.
yeah.
What is a tree maintenance district
District
assessment?
I feel like that we are a little bit early to ask a question.
Yeah,
like this.
or
It's a
it-
landmine.
Yeah,
It's a landmine to public participation.
Yeah.
I don't think out of the gate, when we are just having a conversation about
Yeah.
the trees, we,
Because Linda did have
bring up
that
a
conversation with
conversation
me
of
about that
additional
in the
funding.
second level of what we're looking for. So I know that they did in the original one bring that up, but, and that's what I ultimately want to know, but to your point, not right now.
No.
So let's nuke that one, guys, right?
Done.
Okay.
Sorry, which one is it?
On
On
a
a scale of
scale
1 to
of
10,
5.
One of
Number
five.
5.
1 to 5. Yeah, would you support the establishment
on
of
a
a tree
district
maintenance
assessment?
district assessment to provide more funding for the tree maintenance? See, that's the only question I would have in the survey. That's it.
Yeah.
yeah.
We cut it
And I
out.
would just
But
put it
not
more
yet.
like generally, like, would you support more funding for tree care maintenance? Just the whole district.
No,
I think we find out what they want.
I don't think we go
and
there.
if
Yeah,
they either
I
want
think
what we
the next
have,
step.
if they want a higher level of what we have, now we're into a conversation of how to fund it. And
Level
I
of
think there are
service.
multiple options and this isn't necessarily the only one. And would probably be the
Yeah,
most
that's a good point.
unpopular.
So we're in agreement on that one, right?
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
mixing
That
that one.
question.
Mix
Okay.
it,
You got that, Maeve?
Well, and you also want them to come to that
conclusion themselves.
One question addresses urban forestry management. Sandpoint, please.
You know, and at some point in the future, you know, you will need to bring that up, but then you would have the survey question, you know, not just a standalone of district assessment, but how would you support
Yes,
increasing, you
exactly.
know, number 1, grants, number 2, an
Yeah.
assessment, number 3 would be donations or something. You really kind of elaborate on the different funding avenues to approach that.
Honestly, there's a bigger picture in this too. When we're, as a city, when we're thinking about tree management, really, there's the urban forestry portion, but from the city standpoint, there's actually the other public trees that we own, which are not general public, they're utility public, that are watershed.
Mhm.
And so when we talk about and think about how do we manage our forest, so
Mhm.
beyond our community-owned forest,
yeah.
publicly owned
Yeah.
forest, then really thinking about the management of that forest and water quality and stormwater, there's potentially an argument to be made that revenues from harvesting in there
Yeah.
be spent to maintain the forest down here, because that fits into our overall water quality.
Yeah.
So this jumping to district assessment is a leap we may never even have to make. I think there's other options like
Right.
that.
Yeah. Mhm.
Being more efficient with our dollars and looking at how we spread them most effectively.
Yeah.
Well, and it'll be a result of kind of what we come through with the public process at Jim
Yeah.
and Maeve doing that stuff.
Mhm. Yeah.
Premature,
Mhm.
but still, I won't know that.
Yeah. Where's the money coming
Just for
from?
clarification.
And keep in mind, like on this next question too, when we're asking these questions about developers preserving or planting trees, more trees should be planted. As we have been doing all of our master plans across the city, these master plans feed into the city's comp plan too. So we can engage people who might be interested in particular topics and may not engage in the broader comp plan discussion. But trees and thinking about trees and development requirements of trees in our comp plan, this will feed into that and inform those goals and objectives. Yeah.
So again, timing is great on that one.
You're getting a sense of people's knowledge and value
Yep.
from the surveys.
Mhm.
And then the next step is the whole, where do you go with that?
Yes, yeah.
And the funding and.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
We're
this
really
is-
at baseline.
Where are we at, Chair?
I'm looking at this one, please indicate level of importance.
Yeah.
Following urban forestry issues within the
Yeah.
city of Sandpoint. New policies to promote tree management.
There's the second one in there. So weird. Being allowed to plant and care for new trees in the public right of way when trees die, subject to city policy. So the when trees die part, I'm not sure how that fits in, but being allowed to plant and care for new trees.
Well, our policy is when a tree dies in a public right of way,
Mhm.
the homeowner has to deal with it so far, unless it's like been so hazardous that they're worried it's gonna fall on a car or something, right? But also, we're supposed to grind that stump and replant. Isn't that our policy?
Are we just
It
trying to
is.
get a sense of of people's desire to replace a dead and
Yeah, just to
dying
say
trees with
replace
new-
tree
with
for
new
tree or
trees?
something,
So it's
or-
about replacement and just
Yeah.
getting a sense of the value, not.
I think if
Any
you agree this one is
responsibility?
an issue, we can make a note and look at refining it internally before we go out. I think what I hear you saying, and is a sense I have it with this question, is we don't ask a question with a beating you with a stick type of a question. And that's kind of the approach that I see with this question. I think there's a way to nuance it
I
about the level of importance around management and refurbishment of our urban forest without this whole note.
Yeah.
Being allowed is,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which I
It's,
would say is support tree removal, tree replacement.
Yeah, tree, exactly. It's, do you
Exactly.
support tree replacement?
or-
Yeah.
or any removal.
When,
Yeah.
know.
I mean, that's simple.
Yeah,
That's what
exactly.
That's what we're getting.
Replacing old trees with new trees.
I think we can wordsmith and get what you want. without
Exactly.
us having
Again,
to do
that goes back
Okay.
to the
Okay.
deliverable for what are we looking for, and that what's maybe.
And if we were to keep the question intact, then I would recommend just taking out when trees die.
It's just
Yeah.
weirdly,
But yeah, I think the whole question needs to be
Yeah.
reworded.
yeah.
Yeah.
Inflammatory.
When trees are
I think,
removed.
The way written.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Nobody wants to talk about dying.
Mm. Mm.
I also feel honestly asking about personnel. The public doesn't know if we have sufficient personnel or not. We're either delivering a program or we're not. I mean, this committee might have a feeling about it, but the general public, there isn't a benefit to asking about sufficient personnel. It's what they want us to accomplish and we're delivering it. We're not.
Mhm.
That was on.
So that goes back
Where
to,
was that? That
That's
was-
the
Previous
last
question.
question in that category.
And just quickly, again, it's just the wording, back to a city developed formal citizen educational outreach program. It's just the wording. Can you just say something like an increase in educational outreach programs?
Yeah.
Reword.
Something.
so I'm just gonna jump back up to the management, the previous question.
Yeah.
The third one from the bottom at the top of the page, management of the urban forest should be centralized in one department. Is that something that, again, I feel like
Is
that
it
goes back.
necessary?
Yeah.
It's another one of those, okay,
So, yeah.
Like not important.
not for,
Like removing
Like not now.
that.
We've
I mean,
taken
for
care
the
of that.
general public, they don't care what our department organization is
agree.
and how we're splitting across staff. They expect us to deliver outcomes.
Yeah.
free.
So Sharon, on yours down here about the formal citizen, how did you suggest saying that? The city developed formal citizen.
Oh, just
education-
to say, instead of that wording, just say,
Better
basically, do
education.
you support increase in educational outreach programs?
Yeah.
And if you want to be consistent, like the one above, increasing the city's tree management, increasing the educational outreach program, so that there's kind of a consistency in the verbiage too.
Increase your tax. You said yes.
Oh, yeah.
Increase, decrease.
Hmm. We don't do that.
Personnel, that doesn't make.
Yeah, that's the one that we.
Yeah,
cut.
that's definitely a mix, based on what we just said, right?
You catch that one, Maeve? The
The very last one.
sufficient city
Oh,
urban
no.
forest management personnel, the last option in that
Oh.
series.
Just nixing that.
Delete.
based on
Yeah.
our
We're gonna
discussion.
stick with programs and outcomes.
What other urban forestry issues should the city consider? So that's open-ended.
So delete the very last one, sufficient city urban.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thanks. Now, the one before it is broken up online. So in all cases, we want to add, do you support? Correct.
No, it says not important,
Do you support
neutral.
forestry management? Your vision, detailed goals. Not important.
That's just kind of a,
Simplify. Yeah.
like, it's,
I think just,
I
it's
don't
just a
know why you have
copyright.
to
And so let's
We can
leave
rework.
that, leave
We
that
can
to
rework.
the survey.
I would
People.
narrow it down to just maybe or have the verbiage just really clear.
What other urban forestry issues should be considered?
Yeah.
What additional service would you like urban forestry plan to provide, if any?
Hmm.
To live.
Trimming.
So that's open there, so they can put in anything they want.
I know, I
So
like
that's
it.
awesome.
We
I
know what
know.
you're gonna be
I
typing,
know,
Gail.
yes.
I like it.
Yeah, like
There is a
that.
1,000-word limit.
Can't you draw a picture in
My,
that?
yes, my
Draw a
computer's
picture.
broken. so
Yeah,
I'll be
picture
drawing
needs
it.
1,000 words. So.
Yeah,
That's funny.
if you could draw a picture of that.
Oh, I see. It really does say 1,000.
That's awesome.
Okay,
1,000 characters.
Yeah.
Not words.
Bob, I think we can
Okay.
work on getting the revision based on your input and feedback. Thank you. And
Yeah.
get something out this month and
That would be great.
give the committee advance notice when we're out there and releasing, so you can help promote.
Mhm. Yes, please
And
let us
again,
know.
if people do not have computers, don't have access, we have a kiosk here in City Hall. They can come and do it here. Staff will help them get set up, or if they're seniors who don't know how to do that, but
What about the library? Can the city set up something in the library where people can just, like a tablet, like you were saying? I don't know if this is possible, but just some kind of kiosk in the library where people can take a survey, this survey.
Yeah, but they have like computers in there, right?
Yeah. they can log
yeah, but
on.
we can
Yeah.
probably do some outreach with the library about, can we get some promotional material out there, get the web
City
address so that if
Participate in your
people
city
sit
or
down.
something. And
Yeah,
just boom, boom.
Yeah, and actually,
Survey of the month or
Mike,
something.
who, I forget his position at the library, but he, and I forgot to put this on the agenda, but he reached out, reminding me about doing our annual display at the library, but maybe we can even incorporate like the survey,
Yeah,
publicizing the
that's right.
survey to people
What's
in
that?
our annual display at the library.
But what's the date that you want all this
Oh, my,
info to
yeah.
come
I
back?
think we need to,
that's
to
key.
plan for the end of August so that we could pick up a town hall
Yeah.
meeting in September. So I don't know what,
Yeah,
That
this
might
would
be
be
too late.
September or October, but regardless, even if we can't include the survey in our window display, but just know that that is something that we're probably going to be doing in the fall, and if there's, some kind of priority to the
Yeah.
outreach.
I think it'd
you
be a
want
cool
us-
place to do it because you got people there and then, and not just this, but on all cities.
your window display may not be the promotion of the survey, but more the promotion of the workshops
Mhm.
Yeah.
and public meetings.
Perfect, but I still would love to see this, some kind of way that people coming into the library can take the survey in August, if you're able to reach out to the
You're
library.
heard, and I think you
Okay.
can reach out to the
Okay.
library.
Well, and especially with the construction going on here in City Hall, that makes it a little more difficult to
And,
to access.
and that's a beautiful diversity of people that use the library, so it's a
Yeah.
perfect
One
location
final
for
thought
that.
with the outreach is.
It's a nice way to
incentive.
describe your clientele.
One idea is to do an incentive program where if they took the survey, maybe they can be entered into a drawing, a
Oh,
raffle.
I
and
love,
maybe they
I,
could get a free plant from your nursery, or something like that, and
Yeah.
and utilize all of
Yeah.
you as the private sector to go out and find something for a raffle. So that might be something, maybe you get a packet of seeds, or I don't know.
Yeah, no.
Consultation.
yeah,
So that's a
I
great,
like the way you're thinking.
incentivizing is a good way
Yeah.
to help out, so. Yeah, that's another way to get more activation.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wow, rip that apart.
And I-
Gail.
I will
Well, that was
reach out-
something.
Good.
You guys did good.
I will reach out to Mike at the library and just kind of confirm the window display dates. And can I send that out in an email to everybody? Or does
The
that have to be
results?
part of a formal
No.
agenda?
Send
just-
it out through the city because it starts being problematic with formal committees and commissions if they are talking with one another outside of a public setting. So
Okay.
if it is us releasing information out, so go through Melissa.
Yeah.
And Kim.
Well, and just, this has been a great thing. I've been here for a long time. We used to have like 6 different departments throwing out 6 different things at the same time, right? Sometimes that they were counter to each other. And so right now we have a system where everything runs through our, ultimately Jennifer for approval. So we're all on the same page and then it goes out. So whatever we communicate, share, press release and writing, displays, whatever we do, so we're speaking of one voice, we need to channel it through there and then she will disperse electronically or authorize the different things. And that way too, when somebody asks her on the street, what's up with something here, then she actually knows. It's a good thing.
Or the council member and the mayor knows.
So let's just be consistent. So it's not a control thing.
Mhm.
It's a consistency thing. And it's an awesome thing.
And I'm sorry, but I do need to
Yeah,
leave
yeah.
at this point, but
Okay.
it was a great meeting. It was really great meeting you. I'm so glad that you're here. And yeah, good to see
All
you.
right.
Bye,
Thanks,
Sharon.
Sharon.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
with Sharon's departure, we do not have a quorum.
okay.
So
Can we
have to
still,
postpone.
can we still,
We do not.
But here, I'll make it real
Are
quick,
we
okay?
almost done?
okay,
Okay, here, the next item is that you have it in front of you.
yeah.
The one on the very front is the one by North Idaho Lock and Key. that tree is recommended to stay. So done on that one.
Oh, wait, really?
Yeah.
This fork guy is?
Yeah.
Oh, and you guys
That's our
recommended it
recommendation.
with Rich?
Yeah, well, no, not with Rich, with Garth. So here's what happened.
Garth.
Garth is our Idaho Department of Lands funded urban forester. He has certification in hazard trees.
Yeah,
Okay,
we like
So
him.
he's the guy that works for the Spokane Conservation District. But his contracted through IDL to be our tree person. And he's very, very knowledgeable
Great.
and very
I
supportive of our
love, I
efforts.
thought he did a great job writing up this assessment, on these trees, yeah.
Okay, so there's that one. And then the next one we had on your agenda was, I think, at the senior center. And that
Mhm.
one did get beetles. What kind of beetles are there? You'd
Well,
ask
There's
me.
bark beetles.
And that
One of
killed
the-
that tree, so it's
Yeah.
gone. It's,
Okay.
it's actually city property because it's the senior center. It's not in the right of way, but it's deader than a doorknob. It's
Okay.
coming out sooner the better
Sooner the
because
better.
And
on
the
their
city
dime.
is doing
Is
it.
it one of the Rosa Pines or?
There's some big ones. in there. Is it
No,
one of the big
it's not,
ones?
it's one of the not enormous ones. It's a big one, but not.
Okay.
He's on the side.
Yeah. So we didn't even write it down because it was so dead. It's like, that's a
Sure.
no-brainer. It's dead.
Yeah, it's dead.
And it has bug holes in it, so we're
Yeah.
getting rid of it. And then the next one is just to right down here on Pine Street, a block and a half east. And because of the extreme V, we kind of gave the property owner the question or the final decision on that, but our recommendation would be to remove it.
Wait, do I, where's that?
That's on the back.
Oh, I thought that was the one we were talking about.
No, there's two. There's two different trees.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
See how the one has
Okay.
a U and the one has a V?
Thank
That's
you.
really what it
That's
boils
what I
down
meant.
to. The V is not great. The U is okay structurally.
Structurally.
Okay.
I
That's it
did,
in a
I did
nutshell.
have one question. What is subordination pruning? Because that was used in the assessment.
I thought
couple
that,
times.
I assume, I'm not sure, but I assumed that meant taking off one of the two trunks. You
Oh.
have two trunks there.
Okay.
you Take off one so you don't have two.
But,
pushing the other.
there is
I don't know what
a
else
neighbor
they-
tree right to it, that the windage and how because the trees have not just that tree, it's the
Yeah.
other, it's the
It
effect of
was
the
so
other.
good
ones.
that he pointed that out, yeah.
Yeah. And then this, the property owner is not 100% convinced that they want to take it out,
Mm.
but there are issues with that tree. I asked her straight up, what would you do if it was your tree? He goes, I'd take it out.
Huh.
Well, do the landowners have a say?
Yeah, well, no, they're the ones requesting.
Oh,
take it
I
out.
thought-
These
okay.
are requests from the homeowner.
Correct.
That's how they got on the list. I was
Correct.
wondering why we were looking at these
They
specifically.
contacted me. And
Okay.
and so I went out, visited them with Garth and actually talked to all the property owners at the same time.
Mhm.
We all had the powwow.
Perfect.
And the guy for lock and key was kind of bummed, but oh, well.
Oh, because
It's a
he
big
would have
tree.
liked it to be
Well,
done.
his renters are concerned, when you look at it strictly from risk and then with all the trees that we've been having down, Maeve, we've had all kind of wet springs, winters, and then extreme winds, and we've had more pine trees coming down than in the past. Our weather patterns have been changing.
Mm.
So, we've had more come down. Like Jim said, for every one that comes down, there's probably 1 million that didn't. But when they're in town, they're very visible, so people's
Mhm.
perception are
Yeah, they're
that it's a
great.
hazard, and they're big and they crush your house, man. I mean, so
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
not fake.
So Kim, on that first one, just a question.
Uh-huh.
So the recommendation was that that tree stay, but with that, there were noted ways to reduce the risk associated. So what are we doing to ensure that one or two is implemented?
We will, after committees decide what they want to do today, I will get back to the property owner and we'll say, here's our position. Ultimately, he could do nothing and still be fine. I mean, we have a recommendation. Again, it's the responsibility of the property owner. At this point, we cannot force anybody to do anything.
But the city also, on the Church Street one, is that the one we're talking about right
Yes.
now?
Yes.
Said that removal was not necessary. Is
That is
that
correct.
correct? Didn't give approval for the removal.
That is correct.
Okay. But yes, so if the homeowner wants to pursue anything, these are the recommendations.
correct.
Subordination, pruning,
Those are his options.
and cable embracing.
And
That is
there's about
totally up to
seven,
him.
there's 7 or 8 other trees right in there. These are real quickly, these trees were planted about 1900. And they were all
Mhm.
planted pretty close to each other when they were small. Now they're huge, they're 100 years old. And so it's a great example of when Sandpoint was just first a city
Mhm.
and they did some right of way planting. And now they're giants with very little room in between them. But
Well, it
they
is a
all
very
depend on
nice
each other.
line Of trees
Oh, they're very-
right there.
yeah.
It really is nice.
And they're huge. That's right next to
Nice
Arthur's
mature-
acupuncture joint.
Yeah.
Right in there.
And they're all fur. I
Yeah,
mean,
They're all
Yeah.
set for, yeah. Okay. So
But there's
do you
some
want to,
issues
does the committee
too.
want to go with recommendations as presented?
Mr. Chair, this is not an action item on the agenda.
Okay.
I think, yeah,
Oh,
you
okay.
were, this was just to inform us
Okay.
of the decisions, right,
Okay.
that had been made.
Okay.
That's how I understood it.
Okay. Well, that's what I did.
So it doesn't really require our comments.
I care, but I guess not. It's not about- it's
Okay.
not an
No,
action.
and we appreciate,
Yeah, yeah,
the-
yeah.
yeah, being informed of these, because if, yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's good. In the past, we have reviewed the request to remove for tree removals within the committee. Sometimes we just had a couple of pictures and a short description of what the problem was, and sometimes it's a little hard to make a real
yeah,
informed decision. So this process of having a
a
a
formal
certified,
assessment. and-
Well, and not
yeah.
only that, but each of these trees have been formally graded through the risk assessment for
Yes.
that urban forest or for the arborist risk assessment. So there is a very
There's
definite process.
protocol, yeah,
Yeah,
The scientific
so I,
numeric approach.
yeah,
yeah.
I'm very comfortable with loving, with
And
Going
and
with
Gar's
Gar's
a good-
recommendation,
he's a good
yes,
work committee too, yeah. All right. so I got-
okay, thank you. Thank you, Kim. Anything else before we adjourn?
I have a little blip of, I have been bugging Bill Brown several times. He's the one who owns a bunch of rental apartments and such in town. And I keep calling to say, wouldn't it be softening for your condos or whatever they are, the apartments, if trees were planted? So I keep calling, and the only thing that they say is like, oh, you have to go to a meeting. I was like, well, you could send a representative to the meeting, which is true,
Yeah.
right? babe? Okay.
Someone who's gonna be there.
And so far, but
You could be the
I'm
representative.
still bugging. Oh, I'll go to the meeting.
I'll be your
But they
representative.
actually have like irrigation
Yeah.
on this particular
Yeah.
site. It would just be so great, but
Hmm.
so maybe if I
I love
put a
those.
You get
couple-
to
put
free-
10
get some free
trees there
trees.
for him to see what it
Wow.
would look like. Oh, okay, that's it.
All right, thank you. Well, without anything further, I adjourn the meeting at 10:21.
Right.
So thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thanks
It's been a good
Yay.
meeting.